Hey guys, it's Rod with Civil Advantage Firearms Training. If you can imagine, we're actually going to do a gun review here on the Civil Advantage channel. It's almost too good to be true. So today we're going to talk about this rifle, which is the Robinson Arms XCR in 7.62 by 39, the Keymod version. Hey everybody, welcome back. Couple of quick things. You know what? If you're a new subscriber, welcome to the channel. Really appreciate you taking an interest in what we've got going on here. If you're a longtime subscriber, thanks for hanging in with me because I realize it's been a long time since I've done a gun review. It's been a few months and I haven't done anywhere near as many this year as I have in previous years. But my life has been consumed with all things firearm related. Obviously the training work that I do, keeping the channel alive, and also the valuable work that I've been doing with the CCFR. It's just been a little bit overwhelming, but anyway, let's get to the review. We'll get started. So, as I mentioned in the intro, Robinson Arms Keymod version, XCR in 7.62 by 39. So, there's a bit of a backstory with this rifle, and I think it's important. I'm going to rattle it off as fast as I can. I did a review of the Robinson Arms XCR way back on the channel. It's been probably 4 years ago, I would imagine. I didn't look. But I borrowed that rifle. And I had it for about a week and a half, and there wasn't really anything wrong with the rifle. If memory serves me correctly, I just didn't like the price because back in those days it was around $2,500, and I thought it was quite heavy, and the barrel, of course, was quite long because it was the non-restricted version, as is this gun. But yeah, it was heavy. So that was my review. From after the time I did that review to right up until about a year ago, I probably came into contact with about 10 people that own this rifle, and they had problems. And I really developed a hate-on for this rifle. Some of the problems were the barrel coming loose, the bolt not holding open with an empty magazine, not even being able to be held open by pushing up on the bolt release, which normally locks the bolt back. I had a guy, he had some parts in the trigger group that sheared off, and he couldn't use his rifle until he ordered new parts, and like stuff like that, right? And I'm like, you know what, for a $3,000 rifle that breaks, not cool. Was not interested in this rifle at all. So anyway, long story short, me and Brody are out training in the bush. I've been doing a lot of that recently, and I'm going to do a separate video on that because I've got some interesting information there. But we're out training in the bush. He brings this rifle. He goes, hey, you want to shoot my XCR? And I'm like, nope. Not interested at all in that XCR. He goes, no, this is the new generation in the Keymod version. You should check it out. I'm like, okay, fine. As soon as I picked the rifle up, I was like, okay, this is a different rifle. What I noticed as soon as I picked it up, it was really light. For a non-restricted firearm in Canada to have an 18.6-inch barrel to be as light as this rifle, I was really surprised, and I went, okay, this is awesome. The next thing that I noticed was the forend was really thin, fits right in your hand really well because it's Keymod. There's no rail on there unless you want to put a rail on there. So it felt really good in the hand, and right away I was like, okay, this is interesting. I loaded it and ran around with it and fired it, and it shoots really smooth for shooting such a big bullet. In a larger cartridge like the 7.62 by 39. So the more I shot it, the more I loved it. So I ended up buying one. I've had this rifle for about 6 months. Quick tour of the rifle and some quick comments to determine whether this is a good rifle for you or not. Number one, it is an AR type pattern rifle. That's what you need to train if you like AR-15s. I love AR-15s. Greatest rifle ever. But obviously, an AR-15 is too dangerous for us to shoot out in the bush in Canada. Just too dangerous. It's a public safety hazard apparently, but I can get another rifle that looks just like it with the same magazines and the same ammunition, and that's okay. So I'm interested in public safety, so I would never take my AR-15 out to the bush. I had to pay $3,000 for this one, to show my dedication. It's just like an AR-15 in many ways. The safety is where you'd expect it. The safety is completely ambidextrous. It switches 45 degrees instead of 90 degrees like you'd find on an AR-15, but that's no problem. I believe the grip is an AR-15 grip, so the grip angle is exactly what you expect, and you can upgrade it. The bolt release is probably the biggest feature on this gun, and it will spoil you the worst. It spoiled me. The bolt release is ambidextrous, and of course, it's right down here where your trigger finger is. I can close the bolt like that. I bring this thing up, slap a magazine, and the bolt is closed as soon as that magazine gets seated. So that's great. I can hold the bolt open if I have a problem by pushing up on it. And again, it's on both sides of the firearm. I'm so used to that feature that when I grabbed my AR the last time I was at the range doing a course, had my AR pop the magazine in, and I'm doing this, and I'm like, where's that bolt release? Looking like a moron, as usual. So, you know, you get used to it fast. So it's the equivalent. The equivalent on an AR-15 would be a bad lever. Although, bad lever, you know, you kind of got to get used to it. It's up here in the trigger guard kind of thing, right? Anyhow, the magazine release, exactly where it's supposed to be, and it's ambidextrous. So anyway, all that to say, the controls are awesome. They're just great. The charging handle and the ejection port, these are the things that aren't reversible. So I'm not going to say they're not ambidextrous because they work no matter what. You're just going to change your manual of arms a little bit. Normal features that you'd find on an XCR is this monolithic upper, right? So this rail goes from front to back. You can put your optics anywhere you like. These flip-ups came with the gun, which is nice. You probably pay $200 for a set of aluminum, milled aluminum flip-ups, and they're, the locking nuts are spring-loaded, so they're great. There's a little aperture sight for you, so you don't have to buy any backup sights, which is nice. The stock is foldable. Personally, I would never ever fold the stocks if they're foldable. I don't even have a lot of guns that have foldable stocks on them, but whatever. If you're trying to save room in your backpack or whatever because it's non-restricted, you can always fold the stock. I would personally never shoot the gun like that, but some people might. It's got this minimalist, you know, ACR look to it on the stock end, and that's really cool. The only thing I would say about the stock is it's not really that tight. I took a piece of electrician's tape, I put it in the joint and then closed the gun on it. That helped a little bit, but recently, like in the last maybe 2 years, I've been really interested in always making sure that the stocks where they meet the receiver are always really, really tight, just to help my accuracy when I'm running around the best I can, because I need all the help I can get. So the charging handle is a little bit bulbous here, but you know what? I haven't had it actually catch on anything, so I guess I can't complain too loudly about it. The gun itself is very easy to disassemble and reassemble. It's a very simple firearm, so that's great. The barrel length, of course, is 18.6 inches, and they have a little muzzle brake. I don't know if that really does anything. This gun certainly is loud with the 7.62 by 39, but that longer barrel, I know it's a bit of a hassle to have that long barrel for the non-restricted status, but at least you're going to get some more velocity. So it becomes quite an effective rifle. Obviously, because it's non-restricted, you could hunt with this thing in Canada, and what a nice hunting rifle this would be. With 7.62 by 39, more than enough for deer hunting, let's say. It's a very lightweight, very ergonomic rifle. I'm not a hunter personally, but I would hunt with that thing for sure. The finish on it is beautiful. Now, I had to grit my teeth to pay $3,000. I actually sold another gun. Probably the first time I actually ever sold one of my guns. I sold another gun to buy this. $3,000. But I'll tell you, when you hold on to this thing and you have a look at it, the machining and the finishing is beautiful. Like, it's what you'd expect from a $3,000 firearm. So I will hand it to Robinson Arms for that. It's very precise, and it's a beautiful gun that way. So even the magazine release, oddly enough, this is one of the things I noticed when I first picked up the rifle, is I pushed the magazine release and I looked at the opposite side, and it's kind of a pivot system to make it ambidextrous, and it's extremely precise. And I went, wow, this is a very high precisionly manufactured firearm. So I just made that term up on the fly. Now the downside. So the downside really isn't, it's not a downside to the gun itself. I bought this firearm to train in the bush, and I bought it in 7.62 by 39 for this reason, because you go through a fair bit of, when you do kind of action shooting, you go through a fair bit of ammunition. With 223 being around 55 cents a pull after tax in Canada now, ridiculous. 7.62 by 39, even though that's gone up about 50%, it's still a far cry. You're still sitting probably like 25, 28 cents a pull. So there's a business case, there's an ROI in running this ammunition in this firearm. This firearm is actually going to start paying for itself in some regard because I'm now using it as my primary training rifle. So anyway, I wanted to throw that out there. The one disadvantage has nothing to do with Robinson Arms, and has nothing to do with the rifle. It has to do with 7.62 by 39 in an AR pattern lower. So you can get, so basically, how am I going to phrase this? Your issues are you may have lower availability of these types of magazines. The regular 223 magazines, you can try to put 7.62 by 39 in them, they won't work. There's very subtle differences, but they are not subtle when it comes to operation. So you have to source these magazines. You can get them aluminum ones, but there's not as many on the market by as many manufacturers. So you can get these aluminum ones, they're pinned to 5. Should the law change, I don't know if you could ever restore it. So now you're stuck with all these 5-round magazines, but it is what it is. You can also get pistol mags. These are very popular for them, and you can buy extensions. So that's what you got here. But the pistol mags or the 5-round mags do have one vulnerability, and that is sometimes when you're pushing the ammunition into these magazines, if that first round isn't sitting out really at the right angle, it'll misfeed. You won't load a round. So there is a potential for you, even if you load them perfect and stick them in your magazine pouches, if they get bumped and that one round just kind of switches to the side. If you have one of these rifles, you'll know what I'm talking about. Just because this pattern of magazine wasn't made for that cartridge. So if you look at CZ858 magazines, right, or BZ58 magazines, they're different. They're completely different magazines. So anyway, that's my only complaint, is less availability of magazines. They're not as precise. They're kind of shoehorning this, into this platform, and they don't work quite as well. Other than that, the rifle has been really reliable. Just maybe you might have a misfeed issue from time to time with these magazines. So that's really the only downside. That and the price, because who likes to pay $3,000 for a rifle? Anyway, hopefully this review helps you make a decision on whether you want to buy this rifle or not. There'll be more to come with this rifle. Hopefully you enjoyed some of this footage too. Also, please help out your fellow gun owners by putting your experiences with the Robinson Arms XCR Keymod version in 7.62 by 39 in the description box. You'll probably find out that there's a longer forend version, the competition version that has the forend that continues on towards the muzzle. This is sort of the shorter version that I bought because I wanted the rifle as light as possible. So there's another version out there to check out. If you want to find us on the net, you can at civiladvantage.com or CA. If you want to follow us on Twitter, I'd love it if you did, at civiladvantage1. And if you want to join the CCFR, you can always join up and help support the cause to try to protect our rights and raise awareness. I mean, the CCFR is about education and talking to non-gun owning Canadians. So if you think that's a worthwhile cause, please support us at firearmrights.ca. Hope you enjoyed the video, and there'll be more to come. All right, take care, guys.